And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, I'm Darren. Welcome to Cross Timbers Farm here at AgraTronics. Glad to have you with us on this fine, beautiful morning that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. It's a new day. God's mercies are fresh every morning. And we are so thankful. And we're going to enjoy this day. It is early in the morning. The sun's been up about 35 minutes. And it's just a gorgeous day to bale hay. We've been out here in the barn this morning. The dew's still really heavy on the hay. We're going to bale our west field today. This is almost the earliest I've ever baled as far as number of days. We cut that hay on a Wednesday evening. It's now Saturday. So that made Thursday and Friday. And today will be Saturday. It's 3-day hay. That's the fastest I've ever made hay. That field is I think going to be ready to bale by 1 p.m. or so. I twist tested it late yesterday evening, and dadgum, it tested good. The twist test, it sprung right back out real good, and where I twisted it, it broke. And I done the bicycle pedal twist test, and it broke. And I think a lot of that's because all those stems were so dry and so burnt up. But the undergrowth has dried out really fast on that hillside. We've had really high radiant heat from the sun on that hay for 2 days. And it's looking good. I think by 1 or 2 p.m., 3 p.m., somewhere in there, we can start baling. I think I'm gonna get it raked up here just as soon as the dew gets off of it. But in the meantime, we've been out here in the barn this morning. I changed the knife on my baler. The razor blade, or I just call it the knife, that cuts the baling twine when you're done. And I put a new blade on it. And if you have one of these type balers and you need to put a new blade on a Farm Maxx baler, all they are is just a utility knife, razor blade. That's all they are. I had a little pack of Stanley razor blades that went in a little razor knife that I used, like cut carpet or something like that with. The one I had on it last time that we used it, when we baled the main field, I noticed when we were picking up those bales, and I always tuck that loose end under a wrap, I noticed where it had been cut was really kind of frayed. It wasn't a real clean, fast cut. It was more kind of like frayed. So I thought, yep, it's time to put a new sharp blade on there. So I done that this morning. It's very simple, a 13mm wrench and a little Phillips screwdriver. You loosen the little set screw and then take the bolt off, and the blade will just pop right off, and just put another one on. 10-minute fix. It's done and ready to go. The twine's about empty from our last baling, so I also brought out a new bale of Sisal twine, and it is Tytan 16,000 green. Best baling twine for these balers I've ever used. And we'll get the rake hooked up. It's a Grizzly 4-wheel inline hay rake, and we'll get it all leveled up where the tines are all even, touching the ground, not digging in, but just kind of enough to get all the hay up. We'll head to the west field and start raking it, hoping to bale it today. I'm gonna twist test it and all that again after I rake it and see about probably 12 p.m. or something like that. And if it tests good and it's dry, we're gonna bale it this evening. I think I've got some good help coming to help me. If you've watched any of our prior videos, you know that when I bale that west field, it's on a pretty significant slope. And because of that slope, when you eject bales out of the back of that baler, a round bale and slope ground equals runaway bales. They'll just take off down through the field and ruin them. So you have to have somebody to ride drag. That's what I call it. That's an old West term that years and years back in the 1800s when they done cattle drives, somebody had to ride drag in the dust and all that to keep the cattle pushing so you didn't have any stragglers. or you can get left behind. And that was usually the worst part of the ride for a cowboy, was to have to ride drag, because you're just eating dust all day. There's an old saying, if you're not the lead dog, the scenery never changes. You're always looking at the rear or something. But this is not that bad. But that's where that term comes from, and that's what I call it. I have to have somebody ride drag to catch these bales, and I'm telling you, over winter, I'm going to plan me some designs for a bale catcher that'll hook to the back of this little baler and come out with like a little half moon on the back, so those bales will roll out into it and stop on maybe 2 caster wheels. It'll spin, so when you make turns, it'll turn. Hook to this baler somehow. I ain't figured that out yet. But with some sides where the bales can't fall off, maybe it might build this out of aluminum so it's really light. Get it welded up, and just hook it with some hitch pins somehow. And so when I'm baling these steeper places, and our farm has very, very few places that's level. Most all of our baling takes place on sloped ground, and the bales just run away when you drop them out. So we're going to try to remedy that maybe this winter. All right, let's get a few more things done in preparation of baling hay this evening. Boy, it's a hot day. It's about 11 a.m. now, and it's going to get blistering hot today. Really good for our hay dry down. Just finished tedding the test plot, and I don't know that it's going to get tedded anymore. I don't want to damage the leaves of all that timothy and orchard and fescue and the clover. We got the tedder unhooked and parked back in the barn. We're getting ready to go hook up our rake, and we're going to head to the west field, rake it into windrows. baling of the west field is complete. A lot more hay there than I thought there was going to be. Still not what we had last year on a cutting, but because of that nutrient loss, but still there was more hay there than I thought there were. And I know that sounds like a broken record, but I say that a lot, but I tend to underestimate how much hay's there. So when we do bale it and all that, I'm not disappointed. I'd rather underestimate as overestimate. So, and it turned out to be a little better hay than I thought it was. The undergrowth under it was pretty thick. And the Timothy that was in it when we cut it was still good and green. And we checked moisture content on those bales. And it was in, if I had to average on the ones we checked, were around, I'd say, between 14 and 13. There was some that'd go 16, 17, and some that'd go 9. So, depending on if it'd been in the shade under a tree or not, things of that nature. If you're a hay farmer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We had some really good friends help us today, and they worked like you wouldn't believe. And my buddy, he ran the baler all day. I think I baled 3 bales, maybe 2 or 3, and I put him on the tractor and he baled the rest. Kubota and the Farm Maxx 330 round baler. I think he had a good opinion of them by the time he's done. It's pretty good machinery. The little baler right back here ran great. We went into the test plot when we finished the west field and checked the hay. Thought maybe we could bale it today. I don't think so. The top's getting pretty crispy, but when you got down under it and got to feeling some of that hay, it still felt a little bit too moist. I think if we would have baled it, we would have ended up with bales 25–30% moisture. Today is late Saturday evening. We're gonna let that hay sit tomorrow, and Monday around noon, we're gonna rake it and bale it. He'll be back for that. That hay's going to them. They have dairy goats, and on top of that, they're just wonderful people. So they'll be getting this hay. They got the hay off the west field, and they'll be getting this test plot hay. And I'm telling you, that test plot hay is some prime hay. You can pick it up and it just smells sweet. And still excellent color and all that stuff. And it should still maintain all that till Monday. We got a good clear forecast till till Tuesday. So we should be in good shape. Yeah, what we baled today turned out to be good hay. And not top tier, but good hay. And even with the burn up stems, the undergrowth's pretty darn good. So every one of us that looked at it, 4 of us in the hay field today, me and Susan and our close friends, and they know good hay. They know what good hay is. And all of us agreed that that's better hay than what we anticipated it was gonna be. Be really good maintaining hay. It's probably not going to put a lot of weight on an animal over the winter, but it's going to be really good maintaining hay for animals that don't require a lot of energy, like lactating animals or something like that. And we've put in a long, hard day. Thanks for being with us, and we will be back with you Monday when we rake and bale the test plot. It's been a beautiful day. This is the day the Lord's made, and let's rejoice and be glad in it. I pray God blesses you and your family, and I pray y'all have a fantastic day.